It's morning huddle time, 2022. I'm excited to see you guys. So we were just talking a little bit about 2022 goals. Stacy, what are you trying to accomplish in 22? You got any New Year's resolutions? Any goals?
Yeah, I just want to read more books. So I just joined a book club with three of my girlfriends that I grew up with. One does it with friends and has for quite a while. So we decided we're going to do our own and meet once a month. So
That's awesome.
I need accountability for that. I'm so busy and I just never have the time. So this will help.
I love it. What about you, Marissa? What kind of goals for you?
Well, so I've decided to reframe the kind of resolution something and call them lifestyle enhancements in the hopes that that's right. Like, cause that's really what you're trying to do. You're trying to like make your life a little bit better. So one of my like minor lifestyle enhancements I would say is, so I work out every morning, but on TikTok, they have, like I'm on the fitness side of TikTok. And so they'll have these kind of like workout challenges. So I'm trying to do every day a workout challenge in addition to my workout, just for fun, like 3 to 5 minutes, something fun, easy, like all of that kind of stuff. So far, so good. And that's like on commercials, as I'm doing laundry, anything like that, kind of addition to that.
I love that. Lifestyle enhancements.
Yeah, there you go.
It's good stuff. Have either of you ever read the book Atomic Habits?
I haven't. Is that a good one?
So Stacy, in terms of goals of reading books and then things that relate to what you're talking about, Marissa, Atomic Habits, one of my favorite concepts from that book is this idea of habit stacking, which is to take these good habits that you already have and attach other good habits around it, which, make them easier and more logical to do. So the fact that you already have a morning workout routine makes it really easy for you to tack on 3 to 5 minutes of an exercise challenge kind of thing that'll enhance your existing workout. So like, if you like getting together socially, Stacy, with your girlfriends and talking about, getting together socially with your girlfriends once a week or whatever, doing a book discussion when you're doing that is a really good way of, positive habit stacking. So anyway, it's Atomic Habits, great books, really fun.
There you go. Add that to your book club.
Yeah, right. I am not, I don't think I qualify to be in Stacy's book club. A little too intense, not nearly nice enough. All right. So good morning. Welcome to the Morning Huddle. It's our first huddle of 2022. I'm Chad Prinky alongside my co-host and partner, Stacy Holsinger. Stacy, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great.
She loves it. I ask the question every time. She's just like, I'm fine, dude. Just a little much. All right. This morning we have Marissa Bankert on with us, and I'm really excited to kick off the new year talking to Marissa about attracting more women to the trade. So Marissa is the executive director of the Central Pennsylvania Independent Electrical Contractors. She's also the president of her local NAWIC chapter, the North American Women in Construction, Chapter 386 in South Central Pennsylvania. And as Marissa and I have gotten to know each other leading up to this, she's also an absolute pleasure to be around. So Marissa, can you tell us a little bit about your story? Give us a little background.
Yeah, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. So as Chad mentioned, I'm the executive director of the Central Pennsylvania Independent Electrical Contractors. So that's just like my pleasure to have to say my name in that super long title every time I introduce myself. And in general, that is, we're an association of merit shop electrical contractors, and we run an apprenticeship program. So that's a big piece of what I do every single day, in addition to providing resources for all of the electricians that we cover here within 20 counties in the state of Pennsylvania. In addition to that, as he mentioned, I'm on a lot of workforce development stuff. I really work within that space pretty heavily to kind of make sure that people understand the viability of construction careers, and especially people of color and women, which is why I'm the president of the South Central PA chapter of NAWIC, and really kind of engaging women in construction, letting them know the options that are there for them, and really providing resources for people as they move through their construction careers, kind of no matter where they are coming from. I am not in construction myself in the sense of like coming from the field or anything like that. I'm really from association management. That's my background, but I have a real passion for it now that I'm in here. And Chad and I were talking the other day kind of about the wonderful nature of the construction industry and how it really is kind of a great space for people to be in. And I think that that's why I'm so interested in making sure that women know that that's a big part of that as well.
And today we're going to really get into some of the, the meat of how we make that happen and why that hasn't happened, and those different types of things. So I'm really excited to do it. Audience, if you're joining us here live on LinkedIn Live this morning, please type in your questions, engage with Stacy. Stacy's always trying to create and engage in the conversation throughout the course of the show. With about 10 minutes left, Stacy is going to pose your questions to Marissa. And so please take advantage of that opportunity that's posed here for our live audience. I'd love to really get your specific, unique questions on the table. And Stacy, we will see you with 10 minutes to go.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. So Marissa, let's get into this. I was, as soon as we talked, as soon as we got the opportunity to have you this morning, I started immediately asking myself, why aren't there more women in the trades in the first place? And of course, that led to me naturally putting together my, straight white male approach to the world, right? and telling the story, at least in my own mind, of why there aren't more women in the trades to begin with. For starters, if we go back, over a century, women weren't generally in the workforce much. And then if we fast forward a half century later, they're in the workforce, but they're kind of over in this women's occupations category, doing jobs that are supposed to be, sort of earmarked for women, whether that's, school teacher or secretary or whatever else. And here we are today. And those barriers, societally, at least, again, from my perspective, seem to be knocked down. And I do see more women in more roles across the economy. Obviously, we see female CEOs. We see females in leadership positions, and that's fast growing, and it's continuing to happen. Why is construction lagging? That's the question that I have, and I think that you're kind of uniquely positioned to talk about. Why is construction behind?
Yeah, so I think that one reason that construction is behind is because we don't do an effective job of promoting it as a really viable career for women, right? And one of the things what I mean by that is that we're not out there specifically targeting women for these positions. And so I kind of have this, list of ways that we can engage women a little bit more in that. And one of them is you're probably not making a good ad. You're probably, when you're looking for people to fill those spaces for you, and you maybe want women to be a part of that space with you, but the ad that you're creating is really driven towards men. And I know that people are like, well, what do you mean? I'm just using these words and that they're they're non-gender related and all of those things. But the truth is that we speak in languages a lot that are directed towards men or towards women. And so I say that because I am guilty of it too, right? I say all the time, oh, my guys. Well, what I mean is the collective group of my people. But what I've just done is gone towards a gender, which is men. And so a lot of times what you'll see in ads, especially kind of within the construction space, and kind of this is this hip language, right? Where we're saying things like, hey, we're looking for a rock star. We're looking for someone to dominate the industry. We're looking for things like that. And when you're using those types of words, you don't know it, but you might be excluding people, women specifically, because they're not maybe attracted to those words. They're maybe, when they read that, they're thinking, oh, you're looking for a man. Got it. I've read the subtext. I understand. So there's great resources all over the internet to kind of help you create an ad that does not have a gender bias, towards it. And the other thing is make sure that in the ads that you're saying that you're interested in equity and diversity, that you want to have, these types of roles filled by people. And there's nothing wrong with saying that in your ad. If that's true, then you should be saying all of that kind of stuff. And the final thing that I would say when you're thinking about creating a better ad is target your ad. Right. So NAWIC, the National Association of Women in Construction, literally has a job board. So you can it gets sent out to all the members. Why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you put your ad on a job board targeted towards women?
Right. It's so much of so when I ask this question and I know that there's probably more depth to it than just this answer as well. But when your answer comes back and it's like, because you're not even advertising to them. And I'm kind of like, okay, so we're just dumb. Okay, understood. Whoops, we made that mistake. No, but I think there's that's obviously words and images matter, and like it or not, there are subtexts to those things, and so you have to do that intentionally rather than just the way you would normally do it, because the way you would normally do it maybe accidentally reinforces some gender bias.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, if you like what you're getting, then keep doing what you're doing.
Right. Okay. So now that leads actually to an interesting sidebar, here, which is we don't have time to go into in as much depth as I'd like, but which is, sort of, why should we want women in construction? Obviously, I do. Okay, but I'm just asking, like, why should we be in pursuit of that? Why is that?
I love this question so much because it's statistically shown that organizations that are more diverse with women and with people of color make more money. Do you like money? Because I do. So like that really should be the only reason. That should be your driver. We live in a capital society, and if you want to make more money, you should want more women and people of color in your organizations. Period. The end.
Right. So there's empirical data that say do this, and you have better financial outcomes.
That's right.
And so again, we could get into to why that is, but I have found the same. And I'll tell you just a couple of quick things that I've noticed on teams with good diversity. When I say good diversity, same as you, good combination of gender representation, ethnic and racial backgrounds. I find that teams with high levels of diversity, they don't get trapped into groupthink. They don't get trapped into doing things the way they've always been done. They challenge each other, and there's a little bit of an environment where it's kind of, you're asking for people with different perspectives to chime in. And what that does is it creates a more thoroughly discussed and better thought out outcome. That's what I see.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So one of my very favorite expressions, and anyone who truly knows me knows this, is that I say, like, well, you don't know what you don't know, right? So when you have other people that have had more experience or different experiences, come from a different background, can come from a different perspective, that only helps you and your organization, because then you don't get into that groupthink mentality. And what you're also doing is you're really kind of going into that, I never would have thought of that. I have that all the time when I'm in meetings, and I love that moment where I go, man, I would have never even thought of that, let alone understood kind of like how to move forward with it or to do something like that. And it's all based on someone else's experience and where they're coming from when they're suggesting those types of things. So yeah, so that's why people should definitely want to have, some diversity within their organization.
Well, the bottom line is it turns into money on the bottom line.
Yeah,
if you want to figure out how, I think a part of the reason that how is that diversity of thought and challenging actually does create better decisions, right?
Well, and imagine if you didn't have to go out and like hire a consultant for every single thing because you kept coming back with the same ideas. I mean, I get
Easy.
it. I know, but I'm more saying organizationally, if you have some of those things within, and then maybe you hire the consultant to make sure that you're doing those things, but you're kind of coming up with those things inside of that, that's really, really powerful to be like, oh, wait, yeah, let's challenge what we've been doing because we're ready to move on to something else. And I think that the construction industry, one of the things that I often say about COVID, so like I'm not a huge fan of how it's impacted our society and our economy, but one of the best things that happened out of COVID specifically to the construction industry was we had to adopt technology at a super high rate, right? Like that happened. And so having said that, now you can have new people with new ideas who have these kind of like technology backgrounds as a part of the construction industry. And a lot of those people maybe are coming from different perspectives, different roles, and different genders and racial ethnicities as well.
Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So we talked about 5 different tips or 5 different thoughts for how we ultimately change the current situation and how we attract more women to the trades. Walk us through those and hit on the ones that you think,
Yes. So the first one there is like creating that better ad, right? Like you got to get people to even be interested in the role, to know that it exists, to do all of that kind of thing. And that again goes to kind of think about where you're placing ads, think about how it is that you're like find out where women are reading ads and go and place ads there. That's what makes sense to do that. The second thing is start aligning yourself with organizations that women are invested in, or even better than that, younger girls are invested in, because then you're starting to create something, a seed that is planted that says, oh, well, when I go to college, I want to major in construction management because I remember that, you know, these types of things, I was aligned with this or, you know, great construction company when I was in middle school, kind of a something. So obviously NAWIC, National Association of Women in Construction, but your workforce development groups, trust me, there is a ton of money coming into your workforce development boards and workforce development groups specifically targeted towards diversity. You should be aligned with them. You should be sitting on their boards. You should be going to meetings and to those types of presentations and things like that to get your name out there so that when they're thinking, hey, like I have this great candidate, how can I, you know, connect them with something? They start thinking about you. Think about groups like Girls on the Run, Strong Women, Strong Girls, STEM groups that are geared towards girls and women. Those are the types of organizations that you want to start aligning yourself with so that that way you can start to grow your, you know, your crop of potential employees from a female perspective at the very beginning. Girl Scouts. Why are we not talking about Girl Scouts, right? Like Girl Scouts is a great nationwide organization that has STEM camps and really focuses on things like that. And the construction industry is missing out on that because what they're doing is they're focusing on things like coding and on things like, you know, computer analytics and things like that, which are great, but STEM is also construction, right? Like I have this argument all the time.
So I've got better ads. I've got getting involved in organizations where women and better yet girls are going to get visibility into you know to your brand, to the building industry in general. Not everything's got to be a commercial.
That's right.
You know, it's right. Sometimes it's just you know, constant awareness of the familiarity of the normalizing of the industry, right? That could make it seem more accessible, more normal. Those types of things. Good. Others. What are some other things we should be doing?
Yeah. So one of the main things that you should do. So now let's say you've made a great ad and now people are starting to come in and women are starting to come in. You should be including women in your hiring process. So I know that part of this is like, you might be like, well, I don't have any women in my organization, so how can I include them? But I challenge you to think about organization wide. Do you have women that could be included in the hiring process, right? So statistically, we know that women make up about 10% of the construction market. And out of that, probably only about 4% are in the field. So that other 6% are in administrative roles. So when you're thinking about that and you're thinking about the hiring process, reach out to the people that are a part of, you know, your administrative team that are working in accounting or they're in, you know, a CEO position and they're a woman. They should be a part of the hiring process. And the reason that is so that the women coming in see that other women actually work there, right? So, I mean, I don't know about you, but like, it's challenging sometimes to walk into a room where you are the only, right? So to sit at a table where you are the only. So if you walk into a room, Chad, and it's a room full of women, you're kind of like, okay, like not like you can't deal with it, but you're like, oh, I'm the only. Like,
well, it certainly isn't a normal state of affairs for right? Yeah, for me.
Yeah, totally. So include women in the hiring process so that way the women that are coming in and applying for these jobs know that women are a part of your organization. If you literally have no women in your organization, reach out to some of those other groups that we were talking about and see if they will just come and sit in. See if they will come and listen and hear all of that kind of stuff, if for nothing else to provide you feedback. So that way you can kind of start to learn about, well, why aren't we having, you know, we're getting past the ad, we're getting to the interview. Why are we not getting to the close of actually hiring them?
I love it. Good. Yeah. What else? So I got better ads, reaching out to organizations, including women in the hiring process. What's number 4?
So one of the things that women specifically really like, but it also goes generationally, is to show them that advancement exists, right? So when you show that there's training, when you show that there's the opportunity to move forward in their career, things like apprenticeship, things like, professional development, when you show that they can go and network with other women and that that's important to your organization, they will be attracted to that. So when you're talking about, benefits packages and things like that, that should be part of your spiel. Part of your spiel should be, hey, we believe in allowing people to be, excel through our organization based off of the work that they do. And here are some of the ways that we show that. And that should be from conversation number one.
Why this might be particularly, because I'm sitting here and kind of going, well, yeah, I would have that exact same conversation with a male candidate as I would with a female candidate. But I think one of the things that may be so important about doing that with a female candidate is that you are explicitly addressing one of the implicit concerns that women have in the building industry, which is that they're kind of confined to menial roles.
Yep.
So you're explicitly saying, here's your path for advancement. We believe in this path for advancement, and you will qualify for that path for advancement, which kind of removes that implicit fear. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Right. So what we don't want to do is we don't want to bring women in and then kind of give them the, don't worry, it'll be fine, kind of a something. We want to say directly, hey, we hire based off of, quality of candidate. And here is the exact pathway that we have mapped out in order to facilitate getting the most out of each one of our employees. And we want you to know about it the same way that we want Andrew to know about it, right? Like both of those things. I think that that's a really, really important point it's true. You probably do it for all employees, but as a part of the hiring process, when you're saying, here it is, here's what we believe, here are the organizations that we are allies with, so that way you can understand that this is something important to us from moment one, I think goes a long way in actually hiring women into your organization.
I agree. Okay, so let's hit on number 5, and then I'm sure we have some questions from the audience.
Yeah, so the 5th thing is one of those things where I can't believe I have to say it, but it's 100% true, which is, can you please make sure that you have equipment and facilities that are appropriate for women on the job sites? So PPE is typically designed for men, but it's unsafe to have it be designed for men, right? Like I can't wear a man's small because it's too big for me. So I need something that appropriately fits me in order to be safe on the job site. So if you're not investing in things like PPE for women, that's a problem. You have to have those types of things. In addition to that, please have bathrooms on the job site that are appropriate for women. Like it's different, and we have to acknowledge that it's different, but you need to make sure that whatever restrooms and facilities and rest areas that you have are either completely gender neutral or that they are applicable to women. And I think that that's like one of those things that people kind of go, oh, it's fine, don't worry about it. It's like, no, it's not fine. We need to make sure that it's 100%, open for everyone, so that whomever is using any type of facilities or whomever is using, this PPE, that it fits them appropriately.
Yeah. And this, okay, there's the facilities and there's equipment, but then I think if we're being totally honest, there's also culture of creating an environment that is welcoming, and comfortable, for women. That feels truly inclusive. And man, I would love to talk about that for a pile of time. I really would. But I also want to make sure that we have some time for our questions from the audience. And if we have any additional time, Marissa, I'm going to circle back to that.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a couple questions in from Blake Radcliffe. So what happens once women are on the job? How do you create a fair environment for women at the job site?
Man, I love it, Blake. It's so great. You lined it so well. So I think that goes back to what Chad was just saying, which is you really have to have a culture that actually supports wanting to have women on the job site. So I think that this is actually probably the number one reason why women are not in construction. They do not want to be in an environment that is toxic and is unsafe for them in any way, like emotionally unsafe or physically unsafe. they don't want to be involved in that type of environment. So really, that is a kind of a bigger question in the sense of saying that you need to make sure that your culture supports having women and, you know, people of color and diversity overall before you even go to hire women. That's what you have to do. It cannot be like, well, we're going to hire all of these women, but then we're going to put them in this super toxic work environment where people can just say and do whatever they want. And they're just supposed to be happy with their job. That is just like not reality. And it's not something that you would want to do. So why would you have the expectation that women would want to do it either?
Yeah. So what it's I think the thing that is the most challenging, again, so here I come from my straight white male perspective again, but I think one of the things that is most challenging for employers in accomplishing that is maybe I know this sounds ridiculous, but not knowing what creates a toxic culture and being accidentally toxic as a culture, right? Creating this environment that so that I guess, they need to know what the do's and don'ts are. And then I guess lastly on this point for me is that there is a perspective that because there are so very few women in construction, that we're not seeing or hearing enough to normalize, that is not okay, or that's the way things should be or shouldn't be. So anyway, expand on that.
Yeah. So Chad, I think your first point is really valid, which is that sometimes we don't know that what we've created is toxic. Like, I don't have the belief that like men in construction wake up and go, well, I am just going to create a toxic work site today because that's going to be super productive and make me a lot of money. So like, I get that is not what's happening every day. But what has happened is, we get these kind of cultural anomalies that happen within niche cultures, and construction industry is not immune from this, where it's like, well, we've always done it that way. We've always kind of joked around in this way, and that's been an acceptable something. But then when you introduce a new, kind of group into that means you probably maybe need to examine your behaviors, right? Like, it might have actually not been appropriate even amongst the group that is all men. Like, you might not realize it, but you probably have a couple of people on your job site who are like, ugh, they're eye rolling every single day because they already don't like it. So then, let alone having a woman be a part of it, it creates this new dynamic. So that's why I'm a huge, huge, huge proponent of just doing some unconscious bias training ahead of any of this kind of stuff. And if you already have women within your organization, just go ahead and still do it. Because a lot of times you don't realize what's happening. You don't know that you're doing that. Like, I am originally from the South, so I am a big, like, honey, sweetie, like all of that kind of stuff naturally as a part of my language. So I don't find that to be offensive, but I understand how other people do. And it is something that I do unconsciously. And so again, when you have that kind of training where you can look and say like, oh, I didn't realize it, but every time I see Sue carrying a box, I say, hey, can I help you with that box? And it's you just don't realize that you're doing it. But you're not asking Chad the same thing. You're not asking Chad, hey, can I help you with that box? And there's nothing wrong with helping people. I'm more just saying you don't realize that you're only always doing it for this person and not doing it for other people. So those are the types of things that really get uncovered through an unconscious bias training. So I'm a big, big fan of that.
There is a book called Blind Spot. And not having thought about the fact that I would mention this book, I don't know who the author is. But there's a book called Blind Spot that I read on this about, I don't know, a year and a half or 2 years ago that is a fantastic way to learn about your unconscious bias. But we all have them. It's not just a problem right? It's not just a problem that,
no way.
Right. So, but to your point, and I really do think this is something that we have to confront and be honest with ourselves about, is that we can't be so dug in to the idea that I shouldn't have to change.
Yeah.
That you create this unconscious, or that you create this toxic environment for others. And you said something yesterday to me that I wrote down, when you said it, which is, if you like what you've got, then, keep doing exactly what you're doing. And that's, but if you'd like to attract more women to the trades, I'm giving you the freaking template.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I think that I really like what you just said, which is like that, I think that we get to this point where it's like, it's okay to not know. It's okay to have ignorance. It is 100% okay. But it is also your due diligence to examine those ignorances. And once you know, then you need to start making change, right? Like it's okay to be in that position. I'm not a perfect person. I don't have the expectation that other people are perfect people. But I think it's really important that if you want to invest in attracting women into the construction trades, you have to do that first word, which is invest. And that means doing things like bias training. That means changing the culture of your organization. That means making those types of shifts once you know that they might be problematic to ensure the success of your organization moving forward, to make more money because now you have more diversity because you're attracting more women and people of color into your organization.
I love it.
Yeah,
makes total sense. And I think what I'm also picking up from what you're saying is that we if we can allow some grace with the idea that people aren't doing bad things on purpose, then we eliminate kind of the gotcha culture that can, really, frankly, polarize people, right? When people feel like they're under attack, even if they were the ones doing something wrong in the first place, if you attack them for it and they weren't doing it on purpose, think of how they react when you do that. So you have to allow that space for a little bit of grace for people to be just ignorant. But then you got to meet each other more than halfway, which is that you have to realize that it's your personal responsibility as a leader, as a business owner, to explore your blind spots and to seek to eliminate ignorance. And then once you don't have that blind spot, now it's on you. Right? Right? Now you got to behave like you've just learned. You have to.
Yep.
And we see stories about it every day, in the news where, people are learning this lesson the hard way, rather than being proactive and preventing you're learning the right way to do things.
Yep, that's right. And I love the concept of grace. I'm a big, big fan of it. I think we should give ourselves more grace. And I love the idea of giving grace when there's ignorance, because I think that that's one of those things that we don't do a good job of, kind of as you alluded to, kind of across society. Like, again, if you don't know what you don't know, you can't be better. And so when you know, then you can be better, and you have to make steps to do that.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah.
Awesome. My gosh, we're going to have to continue this conversation in a future show, but we are already at and slightly over time, which is on me. Stacy, is there anything that we didn't catch on from the audience that really, we want to call to the front here before we jump?
We got everything from the audience, but I just wanted to ask Marissa real quick, can you direct our audience to where they should learn about more about NAWIC and what resources, like, is there resources just for women, or is there, courses or anything like that men can, jump on with NAWIC?
So I would say with NAWIC, I mean, it's really geared towards women. NAWIC.org, so NAWIC.org is the national website, and they can definitely help with, kind of helping women with resources. They provide a lot of professional development and things like that. And your local chapters will do the same thing. So that's what I would say kind of in regards to that. As far as helping organizations to grow into this, there's a ton of resources online in regards to that kind of like unconscious bias training, or look at your other organizations. So I'm going to give an association plug in the sense of like, associations are probably going to be like one of your best resources within the construction industry. So look at the associations that are around you, and they're going to be able to provide you a ton of resources, classes, local, online, all of that kind of stuff in regards to helping you navigate some of this kind of stuff. And please feel free to message me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to kind of connect further on all of that as well.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, of
Awesome.
course.
That's awesome. Thank you both so much. Stacy, for being always there to keep an eye on keep an eye on and communicate with our audience. And Marissa, for bringing what you specialize in and what you're passionate about to today's program. I certainly felt like it's an important topic and something that perhaps a follow-up could be, now that we've talked about attracting women to the workplace, how do we make sure that they stay in the building industry, which is a different, which I do think organizations like NAWIC, particularly specialize in, right? Which is like, how do I surround the women who are in this industry with support and with that kind of, environment, like, hey, we're in this, we're all going through similar stuff. We're all trying to create positive change. So at any rate, thank you so much, Marissa. Any parting words for you?
No, I mean, I just want to encourage people to really start to think about, what they're doing. And again, if you want to be the change, then start looking at the organizations that are around you and how you can partner with them to think about adding, more women and more girls into the construction trades, because let's face it, we got a massive workforce gap, and these are some of the populations that can help to fill that.
Love it. Love it. Wonderful. Okay. So real quick, next week, we're going to be on same normal time. That's January 11th, 8 a.m. Eastern. We're going to be having Eric Teevee, who is Vice President of the Mid-Atlantic region for Sorensen Gross. He's going to be on to talk with us about account management best practices and strategies for making sure that we keep our clients over the long haul. So I'm really looking forward to that conversation. Obviously, if anybody's joined late, you can get the recordings. And if anybody wants to get a weekly email rather than relying on LinkedIn to tell you when this is happening, shoot me or Stacy your email address, and we'll get you on a weekly mailing list that we have that makes it easier for something to hit your inbox and you click to register for this. Thank you again so much. Stacy, Marissa, have a great day. Audience, we'll see you soon.
You too. See ya.
Bye-bye.